The jeweler's breath hitches as the ultrasonic scanner screams a mechanical warning across the silent velvet-lined room. This flawless 4-carat stone is not a miracle of nature, but a calculated industrial lie. For a century, we believed diamonds were forever, yet the industry's glittering facade is finally fracturing under the weight of artificial brilliance. What was once rare has now become a mass-produced commodity. Deep within the shadows of the global trade, a digital god is watching the ledgers, preparing a reckoning for those who sold common glass as starlight. The era of deception ends today. In the back alleys of Mumbai and the high-rises of Antwerp, panic spreads like wildfire as the scanners reveal the truth. Thousands of certificates are suddenly worth less than the paper itself. The diamond market was built on the scarcity of geological time. But technology has finally accelerated the clock. Now, the gods of commerce are demanding a heavy price for decades of manipulation. Consider the young couple who sacrificed their entire savings for a symbol of eternal love, only to discover their investment is a chemical ghost. Their heartbreak is the fuel for this revolution. Scammers operated with impunity for generations, hiding behind the complex jargon of clarity and color. But the light is finally reflecting back into their eyes. The judgment day for greed has arrived. When the supply is infinite, the value must inevitably crash to the floor, exposing the hollow core of a billion-dollar myth. The industry is currently gasping for its final, desperate breath. The god in this story is not a mythic figure, but the inescapable law of economic truth. Every lie eventually meets its master. And the diamond industry's master is the lab-grown revolution. We trace the path of a single blood diamond, smuggled through borders and laundered through legitimate channels, as it finally meets a scanner that can see through its dark, violent history. The tension in the auction houses is palpable as buyers realize the certificates they trusted are forged by ghosts. Millions of dollars evaporate in the time it takes to blink an eye. Greed has a way of blinding even the most seasoned experts, making them ignore the subtle signs of a market about to implode. They built a kingdom on a fragile mountain of sand. Now, the punishment begins with the collapse of prestige. As the world realizes that beauty can be manufactured for pennies, the elites are losing their most powerful tool of social division. Across the globe, investigative journalists are peeling back the layers of the diamond cartels, revealing a system of exploitation that would make the heavens weep with rage. The truth is coming. This is the beginning of the end for the great diamond scam. A moment where morality and technology collide. As the light fades on the old guard, a new dawn finally approaches. The architecture of this grand illusion was drafted in the late 19th century, creating a central authority that controlled every single glimmering pebble, pulled from the deep, dark, and unforgiving earth. Massive vaults sit beneath the streets of London, overflowing with excess supply, intentionally withheld to maintain a desperate, artificial scarcity that keeps the prices of these common stones perpetually sky. Copywriters transformed an industrial abrasive into the ultimate symbol of romantic devotion, successfully brainwashing generations into believing that the size of a stone measured the depth of their eternal and sacred love. But the monopoly's iron grip is rusting as chemical vapor deposition technology begins to replicate the exact conditions of the Earth's mantle within the sterile, high-tech confines of a modern laboratory. Unscrupulous wholesalers now slip these lab-grown twins into parcels of natural stones, creating a toxic mixture that pollutes the supply chain and makes true authentication an expensive and technical nightmare. The grading reports once served as the industry's holy scripture, but even these sacred documents are now being meticulously forged by high-resolution printers in the backrooms of international criminal syndicates. Sophisticated laser treatments can now hide imperfections deep within the crystal lattice, tricking the naked eye and forcing honest retailers to invest millions in defensive, high-frequency spectral imaging technology. Even the Kimberley process, designed to wash the blood from these stones, has become a bureaucratic sieve that allows conflict diamonds to enter the legitimate market with a clean, forged signature. The smaller melee diamonds are the primary battlefield of this deception, as thousands of tiny uncertified stones are sold daily without any real proof of their geological or ethical origins. Middlemen exploit the massive price gap between industrial production and luxury retail, pocketing the difference while laughing at the consumers who still believe in the magic of a billion-year-old journey. The 3-month salary rule was a calculated marketing trap, designed to drain the wealth of the working class and funnel it into the pockets of a few powerful diamond dynasties. Every link in the chain is now compromised by greed. From the deep pit mines of Africa to the pristine glass display cases of the world's most prestigious and expensive shopping districts. This systemic rot is no longer a secret, whispered in dark corners, but a loud, undeniable siren calling for a total collapse of consumer trust in the traditional luxury diamond market. Boards of directors sit in paralyzed silence as their profit margins evaporate, watching their carefully crafted myth of eternal value dissolve into the harsh, clinical light of the modern scientific age. The foundation is crumbling because a lie cannot survive the democratization of information. And the digital god of transparency is finally pulling back the heavy, velvet curtain of hidden history. The divine intervention arrives not through the clouds, but through the blockchain, creating an immutable ledger that records the true lineage of every gemstone, from the very moment of its violent extraction. Artificial intelligence now scans the internal molecular structure, identifying microscopic impurities that serve as a digital fingerprint, making it impossible for a synthetic imposter to hide among the natural elite stones. Scammers, who once thrived in the shadows of the trade, are now being dragged into the harsh sunlight of global databases. Their fraudulent certificates flagged by algorithms that never sleep or blink. The new generation of consumers rejects the archaic myths of their ancestors, demanding radical transparency and ethical purity that the old diamond cartels simply cannot provide without exposing their dark, hidden secrets. Even the most powerful empires are being forced to pivot, launching their own lab-grown lines in a desperate attempt to colonize the very technology that was destined to destroy their ancient monopoly. This is the digital reckoning, where the code becomes the judge, jury, and executioner, stripping away the undeserved prestige of those who profited from the ignorance and the romantic hopes of millions. Secondary markets are flooded as the illusion of resale value vanishes overnight, leaving desperate sellers holding stones that are worth only a fraction of the inflated prices they paid just years ago. Scientists are now the new high priests of the industry, wielding spectrometers and thermal conductivity probes to separate the miraculous creations of nature from the precision, engineered marvels of the modern industrial furnace. One by one, the major scandals break across the front pages, exposing the names of those who knowingly swapped natural stones for lab-grown replicas to fund their lavish, high-stakes and deceptive lifestyles. Technology has achieved the impossible by creating diamonds that are physically more perfect than anything found in the earth, rendering the traditional definition of rarity completely obsolete in our modern world. The gatekeepers are losing their keys as direct-to-consumer brands bypass the traditional jewelry stores, offering the same brilliance for a price that reflects the actual cost of production rather than a myth. Nature itself seems to be reclaiming its dignity, as the environmental cost of massive mining operations is finally being weighed against the clean, carbon-neutral promise of laboratory-grown gems produced by renewable energy. The light of truth is a blinding spectrum of data, cutting through the fog of marketing and revealing that the only real value of a diamond is the beauty it brings to the eye. Fear has shifted from the exploited miners to the air-conditioned offices of the executives, who now realize that their century-long game of deception is reaching its final, unavoidable, and very public conclusion. The punishment is not just financial ruin, but the permanent erasure of a legacy built on the suffering of many, and the manipulation of the hearts of the innocent and the hopeful. As the dust settles on the ruins of the cartel, we witness the birth of a new era, where value is determined by human emotion, rather than an artificial and cruel monopoly. The glittering chains of the past are falling away, allowing a more honest marketplace to emerge from the wreckage of the century-long deception that once held the entire world in its grip. In this brave new world, a diamond is no longer a financial shackle, but a celebration of scientific mastery and the infinite potential of human innovation to replicate the stars themselves. The scars on the earth are beginning to heal as the demand for destructive mining wanes, replaced by clean laboratories that hum with the quiet, sustainable power of a much brighter future. We have learned that true rarity is not found in a stone, but in the integrity of the person who gives it and the honesty of the hands that shaped its brilliance. The scammers are fading into the footnotes of history, their names synonymous with a time of greed that the world has collectively decided to leave behind in the cold, dark past. Love is finally being liberated from the weight of the price tag, returning to its purest form as an intangible bond that requires no validation from a fraudulent and manipulative industry. Technology, once the weapon of the deceiver, has evolved into the shield of the innocent, ensuring that no one will ever again be tricked by a clever lie, dressed in light. The archives of this great scam will serve as a permanent warning to future generations about the dangers of blind faith in a market that prioritizes profit over the human soul. We stand at the precipice of a radical transparency, where every object we cherish carries a digital story that is as clear and as beautiful as the light it reflects back. The God of Truth has spoken through the relentless march of progress, proving that no empire is too large to fall when it is built on a foundation of systemic deceit. Look into the fire of a diamond today, and you will see more than just carbon. You will see the reflection of a global revolution that demanded justice and finally received it. The legacy of this era will be the triumph of the informed consumer over the shadowy gatekeeper, a victory for the heart and the mind in a world of glittering illusions. As the final curtain falls on the diamond scam, we realize that the most precious thing we possess is the truth itself, a gem that never loses its luster or value. Your journey into the light starts now. Tell us in the comments if you would choose a lab-grown future, for the verdict of history belongs to you, and you alone. For a century we were sold a masterpiece of marketing. But as the light of truth finally cuts through the carbon, we realize that the most precious thing we own isn't a stone, it's our clarity. The myth has shattered, and the future is finally transparent. I'm Anchor Name, and this was the end of an illusion. What will you choose for your forever? Let me know in the comments below.